So let me find my PowerPoint and share my PowerPoint, because today I'm going to explain to you the attention sound. So the attention sound is something that I used to call the contact sound previously. But in order to avoid confusion about contact and what we actually mean by contact, I changed the name to attention sound. Because contact, for some reason, or not, it's not very hard to believe, because I went to different courses as well a long time ago, where we learned that you should, almost at all times keep eye contact with your dog, which I do not believe you have to do. Actually, you should not do it for many different reasons. Having the dog to look you in the eyes is kind of a rude thing from the dog's perspective. Looking straight into the eyes of a dog can mean, doesn't always, but can be very rude. Especially staring. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking, oh, can't I look at my dog when my dog is looking me in the eyes, and that's fine. A glance into each other's eyes, that's normal. But staring for a long time, especially while walking, the old-fashioned way of teaching a dog to walk nice on leash was to have the dog to walk next to you, closely next to you, preferably in a very short lead, and even insisting that the dog should look you in the eyes. So I challenge you to go outside after this. Go outside and you go for a walk, and you do not look where you're walking. Look up in the sky or next to you. If there were a person next to you who said, you have to look me in the eyes when I'm talking to you. See how easy that is to not see where you're going. Also, of course, walking with your neck like this for a long time is not very comfortable at all, I would say. And this is something that we do in obedience competitions, typically. It's meant to be an obedience, task, something that you do for a very short time. But for some reason, someone, I don't know who, came up with that great idea that you should actually have your dog walking that way for a long time, which I think is unfair. It's not nice. That's not a nice kind of walk. If you're walking with a friend and every time your friend is talking to you, you have to watch or look him or her in the eyes, constantly staring into his eyes. Not that nice. So I changed the name to attention sound, because that's actually how I use it. And since I learned it maybe 15 years ago or something, I've been using it for different things. I've been using it to stop unwanted behavior. I've used it instead of giving the dogs commands. I find it a lot easier to just use the sound. And what is the sound? The sound could be anything you would like it to be. I find it easy to do this kind of sound. Sometimes we use it for horses when we do horse riding. But this sound, like a clicking sound, smacking sound, that's what I use. You need to find out what it's most comfortable for you to do. You can use different sounds. I mean, if different members of your family want to use different sounds, that's okay. But it's easier if you use the same sound, because you have to train the sound for the dog. So if you are using one sound and your partner is using a different sound, you have to teach both sounds with your dog so they understand what it means. And it just makes things, how can I explain, easier, more nice. You know, before I knew about this, I would typically say to my dogs, if they were thinking about doing something I didn't want them to do, like going somewhere to bark, or if a puppy was going to pee inside, I would say no. Or I'm the kind of person who says that many times. No, don't do it. Don't do it. Go outside, blah, 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 blah. It's a lot of talking and a lot of no's. So with the attention sound, instead, I do the sound like this. And then my dog knows, because I've trained it, and I'm going to show you how I trained it, that this means look at me, not look me in the eyes, but look in my direction, because I will tell you something more to come. So the attention sound is exactly, I think that's the right name for it, attention. Hey, I need your attention because now I'm going to tell you something quite important. And I use that when I also walk my dogs, and we are going to, if we meet someone, like yesterday I walked Wilma, we had a nice walk, and we met a person with 2 other dogs, and I saw that this person was struggling with his dogs, he was struggling, and he was not being nice to his dogs. I can say this because I'm not going to tell you who it was. I don't know the person. But I could see on a long distance that this guy was holding his 2 dogs in a very, very short, very tight leash on a collar. And actually their front paws were barely touching the ground because he was holding them like this. So I said to Wilma, let's make this nicer for the dogs that we're going to meet by increasing the distance, go out of the way. And I was walking in a place, it was actually like a lot of fields, so it was not a problem. So when I wanted Wilma to follow me, because I changed the direction, I did the contact sound. I just did this. And then Wilma looked in my direction, and she could see that I have already turned around and I was walking in a different direction. And because I'm using a long leash, the leash is not getting tight, because she instantly recognized that sound. So she instantly looks in my direction and she follows me. So the attention is also very good when you're going to teach your dogs how to walk on a long leash without pulling. And that's how I'm going to show you how you can train. When you are training a dog to walk nice on leash, the best way to start training is actually without the leash. Because in my world, and since I am Nordic dog trainer, basically, I started Nordic dog trainer, I can decide a little bit. So in my world, walking nice on leash means not pulling. It does not mean walk next to me and look at me. It means don't pull. So the best way of having your dog keeping a certain distance around you, because normally I use a 3-meter leash, is to start practicing without the leash. So you can start doing this inside the house. And I do that with every dog I get. I've taken in a lot of rehomed dogs. So dogs that are moving, coming to my house when they are even senior dogs or adult dogs, teenagers as well, but in all ages. And you can teach this to any dog, any age. So let's concentrate now on walking nice on leash. So not pulling on leash, always have a loose leash. We recommend always using a well-fitted harness, and at least, sorry about the spelling mistake, I just realized that, at least 3 meters leash. And when you are teaching the dog the attention sound, I use some treats. But even more importantly is to stop using the treats once your dog understands what the attention sound is, because you do not want to have to carry around treats for the rest of your life, because the dog will not do it when it's not getting any treats. There are other ways of rewarding your dog. Besides, you don't have to reward your dog in every behavior he or she is doing. A lot of the rewards are so-called natural rewards, meaning they don't have to experience something they don't like to experience, for example. So when you're passing another dog and your dog is a little bit fearful, for example, having a very big distance is making your dog more relaxed, and that is the reward for the dog as well. The reward is then not to be scared, right? Okay, I'm very talkative today, so let's continue with the attention sound. This is me and my golden retriever who very sadly passed away. Turid in Norwegian, which means it's a nice word for pleasure, or being a pleasure, being nice. So this is one way of doing it. You don't have to have your dog sitting, by the way. This is an illustration. My Frid, she was a kind of dog that was sitting a lot by choice. My dogs don't know the command word sit. I never taught them sit. So a while ago, I was visiting a veterinarian, never been there before, so they didn't know me. And after she was finished, she came with treats. She wanted to give my dogs treats. So she started saying, sit, like the old-fashioned way, before you get a treat, you have to sit. Before you do that, you have to sit, blah, blah, blah. So she started saying, sit, because she wanted to give the treat. And I just looked at my dogs, and they were like looking at her, like, what? And I told her that they don't know the command sit. They don't know what it means. I said, I've never asked my dogs to sit. And I was actually wearing the vest, the clothing with the logo of my company here in Norway, like a dog school. So she was very confused. Anyhow, do not ask your dog to sit. If she or he wants to sit, that's okay. Okay? This is an illustration to show you step by step. So you have the dog. When you do this outside for the first time, it takes a few minutes to train this. I promise you, it takes a few minutes. You can go out in your garden afterwards. If you are in a fenced garden, you don't even have to have the leash on. So when the dog, you're not telling the dog anything, but when the dog is looking in your direction, do not wait for eye contact, but in your direction, then give the sound and immediately give a very, very small treat. Very small. Not a big one that they chew, a very small. So then you pretend like nothing else is happening, and then you can do the sound again the next time your dog is looking in your direction. And the beauty of this is that dogs, they learn by association. So very soon they're going to associate that sound that you choose to a treat. Okay, the best thing I can do when I hear the sound is to look in the direction of my owner, and something good will happen. So you can do this by standing still. You can do it inside in your kitchen. When the dog is looking at you, you give the sound and the treat. If the dog is not looking at you, don't pretend like nothing happened. Don't give the sound again. Don't give a treat. Just wait a little bit, maybe 5, 6, 7 seconds, even a minute to give the sound again. Don't go so your mouth gets dry because the dog is not listening to it or doesn't understand it. So when you're going to teach your dog to walk on a loose leash, you want the dog to follow you, to walk around you. It doesn't matter if it's going on the left side, right side, in front of you, or behind you, as long as the leash is not tight. So that's why you need a long leash, because you as a human, you are slower in your movements and reactions than a dog. Okay, I'll show you a film afterwards to explain to you. So after you've given the attention sound a couple of times, you can start moving. And you can start moving by doing this easier for you and your dog. You can start moving backwards. But now you have to multitask. You have to walk at the same time as you give the attention sound and offer a small treat. Okay? And then when you've done that a couple of times, you can turn around and walk the right direction. And have your dog, like I said, doesn't matter if it's on left or right, front or back of you, as long as the leash is not tight. Our human, we have to train on being precise and quicker than we normally are. We need to reward on the right time. The reward has to come ideally within 3 seconds of the sound. If the dog looked at you. If the dog didn't look at you, no reward, nothing happened. Just try it again after a little while. Okay? So you have to be quick in your movements. So that's why I suggest that you have the treats in your hand and do not have the hand in front of you. You do not want the dog to follow you because you have the treats, okay? You can have the hand in your pocket or on your back. The dog smells the treats anyway, but they don't see it. It's not luring like having the treat in front of your dog's nose to show him something. By having a few treats in your hand, it's easier for you to be quicker at offering the treat at the right time. That's why I suggest that. Okay, so here, sorry, what happened? I don't know what happened. Hold on. Let me see if this works. This is quite an old video of me and my dogs showing you how I'm using the attention sound when I teach them not to pull, because like I said, dogs, they learn by association. And very often we are, in fact, training our dogs to pull on lead, because when the lead is tight, we continue walking. And a lot of dogs, they keep walking on a very tight leash. So if we want to turn that around, or ideally we want to train the dog from the beginning that you can only go forward if the lead is loose, if it's not tight, okay? And that's why you need a long lead, because like I said, we are very slow, we humans, so we need the time. If you have a short lead, you won't have the time to do the attention sound before the lead is tight. So the lead has to be at all times loose. Let's see. I'm just going to explain to you, there's some Norwegian text here. It's just, well, it just says that it's me and my dog Huntley. And what I just explained to you, that you start with the attention sound when the dog is, or when you're standing still. This is one way of doing it. You don't have to do it exactly like this. And then I start to walk backwards. Obviously, he knows this. So it's not the first time he's doing that. When the dog, let me stop this and translate for you. When the dog is pulling, when he starts to go from you, away from you, then you stop and you give the attention sound before the leash is tight. And you do not pull the leash. Do not pull the leash. So I stopped and I did the attention sound and he came back to me. Actually, I'm walking quite fast there. When you can walk even slower when you when you train this. When the leash gets tight, I stop and do the attention sound, and I turn around because I'm changing direction so that he follows me. I just want to tell you again that I'm not asking them to sit. These are the sitting dogs that I've had. And you do not have to pull your lead on the ground like I do because I'm lazy. Every time I change direction, this is important, I do the attention sound. So when you train this, you change directions quite often. And you should vary, this is what it says in Norwegian, you should vary the rewards. You can use treats, you can use touch and praise, or you can use a toy. I very rarely recommend toy, depends, because it kind of, some dogs get quite stressed by the toy, like in the sense that they want to play. So that's not what we want to do here. We want to just train the contact sound. Okay, and I'm going to jump now to the next dog. About here, I think. Yeah. Again, attention sound, treat. Attention sound, treat. Walk, attention sound, treat. One sound, one treat. And when the dog starts getting this, understanding the attention sound, you don't give treats every time. You give treats every third time or sixth time or every fifth time. And you gradually fade out using the treats. And instead you can praise them, like today, sometimes I say good girl or something, but it's okay. You don't have to say or do anything always with this. Now we're passing a car, and here the important thing is to reward when the car has passed, not before, but when the passing of the car is without any problem. Okay. These suggestions are based on, I have some references here. And I, of course, recommend the book as well. What Do I Do If My Dog Pulls by Turid Rugaas, the same author as on Talking Terms with Dogs. And these are also from when I went to her dog trainer school in 2011. And of course, it's always good to know the dog's language. So on talking terms with dogs. And there's actually a DVD, or there were, I'm not sure if you can get it anymore, but a DVD by Turid about this. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. So to sum up, the attention sound I use for many different, I use it instead of no, I use it instead of come here when the dog is close to me. It's not a recall because you can't hear it from very far away. And you can train it with all your dogs, the same sound, and it takes very short to teach them. What you have to remember is that dogs, they need to learn this in different environments. So if you train this at home in your own garden, or even somewhere else where you're training with a group of people and other dogs, you can't expect your dog to automatically know it the same, what to do in a different environment. You have to gradually add more, disturbances into the environment. So that's why I always recommend to typically start at home when there are no real disturbances. The dog knows the environment, and then maybe outside in your garden, and then maybe outside on the street or where you normally walk your dog, a familiar place to your dog. And then you can add more disturbances when your dog knows what to do. And never train for more than a minute or two at a time. Have long breaks. Do not train this for 5 or 10 minutes. It's too long. Train a couple of minutes, a couple of times a day in different environments. And I can guarantee you that your dog will learn this very, very fast. Exactly what the name is, an attention sound. And no eye contact is expected. Looking in your direction is more than enough. And also when you start teaching the dog this, you have to be very observant, always looking at your dog to see what he or she is doing, so that a small glance in your direction, that's when you need to praise or to reward your dog. Very often we miss these opportunities because we are very slow in our, in most things compared to dogs. Yeah. So observe your dog. Don't talk to everyone else. Don't look on your mobile. Don't watch television. Observe your dog. When the dog is looking in your direction, fine. Reward him for that. And then stop using the treats by gradually using treats less, not for every time, and then, once in a while. Okay. I hope this was useful. Bye.